everyone to Inside Major League Pickleball, where we are looking back on MLP DC and looking forward to the mid-season tournament, July 10th through the 14th. My name is Blair Henley, and I am sitting alongside MLP and PPA commentator Dave Fleming. Dave, you've been busy.
I have. It's because pickleball's been busy. Blair, we were out at that beautiful San Clemente. Oh my gosh, what an event on the Carvana PPA Tour. So much high-level pickleball. And Michigan, we're coming for you, so be ready for us.
We sure are, but first,
Yes.
we want to talk about the standout teams in our nation's capital, starting with the St. Louis Shock. Another really solid performance by that Anna Bright-led team. Of course, you also have Kate Fahey and the two teenagers, Gabe Tardio and Hayden Patriquin. Do you think that's the favorite team heading into the midseason tournament?
It's hard to say they're not. They've got the best captain in all of MLP. I mean, Anna Bright does not let her team talk to anybody. She didn't let Gabe Tardio talk to me while we were playing them. Come on, Gabe and I are friends. It doesn't matter. She wants that focus. She wants that intensity, and it's working. And is Big H playing some ball? My goodness, been terrific on the Carvana PPA Tour. So that team is just oozing with bravado and confidence right now.
Speaking of confidence, the New York Hustlers came in with very little. They didn't win a match in Atlanta, came into DC, went 6-0. What was the difference, Dave, this time around?
Court time and reps. I mean, it's their second event, and they got some things figured out because these are players that hadn't played a lot together. And when you are just going out there and reacting versus teams that were more well-oiled, that can be a big problem. So go back, let's look at the tape. How do I set you up for success? And that's the thing a lot of people don't realize is you need to play the way that makes your partner play better. Sometimes it's just you playing well may not be it. It needs to be tweaked just a bit, and that's what they did. Man, did they do that well. They were a force to be reckoned with in DC. What a 180 for the Hustlers.
Well, when you sent me the outline for this show, you wrote Utah Black Diamonds, not so much. And that really does sum it up. They went 0-4. On paper, 4 solid players. Yep. Why didn't they click?
I think they need some time together as well. And I think their big challenge was they drafted for proximity. So they got 3 Utah players. And then they also had a trade. They had Tyson McGuffin on that team, traded for Jay DeVilliers. That's a big man. But you need a healthy big man, and the Frenchman was hurt. So he played, he said 80%. I don't believe him, Blair. He was 60, 65. I saw him hopping on one of the matches of theirs that I called. So you're going to have a healthy Jay in DC. That could be the big difference. But they collectively know they have to play at their absolute best to win a match.
Speaking of a great team on paper, you have the Carolina Pickleball Club, a team you know well. I'm sitting next to the GM. You have Ben and Colin Johns, Andrea Koop, Jesse Irvin. Not quite clicking on all cylinders. What do they need to do going forward?
Again, I think it's the opportunity to play together and understand, especially the ladies, how they mess. Obviously, the brothers have played 16 trillion times together. So
official numbers
yes,
there. We've got the stats.
I had it pulled up right before we started here just to make sure I got that. So that is the big opportunity there. Couple of things. Jesse Irvin makes a final last week in San Clemente. That is huge coming in. So she is going to be fired up with confidence. And Andrea Koop, tournament director, lives in Grand Rapids, so you would think she isn't going to want to play at her absolute best and put on a show. So we feel very good going into this, but we got to prove it on the 20x44.
All right, we also want to shout out the Las Vegas Night Owls at the challenger level, went undefeated in DC. What do you like about their team?
Love the ladies there. I love Zoe Wong. No one really knows her, and you need to get to know her. Zoe's a terrific player. Has done some good things both in singles and doubles. Has both the soft game and the put-away power. And then Judith Castillo, the fiery Spaniard, one of the best athletes you will ever see on tour, and a great singles player. So when they get to a Dream Breaker, they know they can count on Judith to pull them through, and she is just rounding them up and getting them all ready to go, and they did it, and they did it well.
Did you happen to see the Night Owls doing their best Night Owl imitation on social media?
Woo, woo. Yes, I did.
I mean, are you available for parties, Dave?
I'll call Caitlin, their GM, and see if I can't show up to their next little get-together.
Fair enough. I certainly think that you're going to be on speed dial for sure.
Yes, which other teams want me to be your mascot as well? Here we go.
Moving on now to podium plays of the week. I've already got goosebumps. Dave, take it away.
First up is the bronze podium play of the week, and when I see Elise Jones on screen, I'm thinking, this lady is about to dive. She's paired up with Big D Pickleball, and let's see what transpires here. Pickleball dinking, great flick from a Big H there. Deckel trying to get the ball to bounce and can't. Elise retreating. A drop shot, and there she is on the ground, but puts it in the kitchen. And are they going to actually get out of this and win a rally? Come on. They do, and what a celebration for Elise Jones. I mean, her ability to stop, drop, and roll is second to none. She is just unbelievable. Look at that dive, and she's ready. She doesn't need a visor. She even throws it into the crowd. I love every part of that play, and that's just the bronze. For the silver medal, we go to the challenger level, and incoming Todd Fote with the Burt ATP. Unbelievable shot, comes flying in front of Jeannie Arakina and hooks it down the line. The reaction of the bench says it all. What a shot from Todd. And finally, for the gold medal play, let's go back to the premier level and look, it's Elise Jones again. Is she going to get 2 of the 3 plays? Gets the serve in, here we go. Jay DeVilliers in front with the behind the back winner. He wants to hear it from the crowd. Let's go, Jay. That actually made it onto SportsCenter's top 10 as well. Gold medal for the Frenchman.
And we've got a new segment this time around on Inside Major League Pickleball, and I cannot think of a better way to kick off LOL than with some discussion, Dave, of Jack Sock's prodigious backside.
I mean, I never thought I'd hear the term caboose coming out of the broadcast booth, but my boy Greg Dow went there. Let's take a listen.
Jack, Greg Dow here. You have the largest rear end in pickleball, one of the largest I've seen in real life. Does that help you or hurt you on the pickleball court? What do you think, man?
That's where the explosiveness comes from. It's all in the cheeks. The cheeks power are there, so helps with foot speed and it helps with being able to Ernie get over there across the line.
Does it hurt you at all, like partner distraction, anything like that? Is that?
Well, that's a question for Leia.
Leia, what do you think?
That's a typical G-Dow question right there.
Yes.
I wouldn't expect anything else.
And a hard right turn of, we're just keeping you on your toes there, Jack.
All right, now we're going to take a look at our standings, starting with the premier level. Dave, walk us through.
You betcha. And when you look at the premier standings, you got to look at the New York Hustlers. What a 180 for this team. They were not good in Atlanta, and then they go to the nation's capital, and they are unbelievable. So they are sitting at the top of the standings right now with 18 points. So these teams at the top right now are rolling along, looking great. The key is you want to be in the top 6. That is the cut line for making the playoffs. So everybody in the bottom has either played less matches or hasn't played well at all. They need to get going and get going quickly so that they can be in the playoffs at the end of the year. Now, when you look at the challenger standings, you see the Bouncers and Aces tied at the top with 15 points, but the Atlanta Bouncers have 4 Dreambreaker losses. Just think about how many more points they could have if they could just get a little better in the singles competition. The other big difference here for Challenger to Premier is just 10 teams in Challenger, so only 4 teams will miss the playoffs, so a little more runway there, but the teams at the bottom have got to get going right now.
If you've been following Major League Pickleball over the past couple of weeks, you've surely seen social media posts about waivers, trades, cash considerations. There were posts to outgoing players, some better than others. Dave, can you explain this process to us and also tell us how often during a season teams have a chance to shake things up?
Absolutely. So there's 2 parts. There's trades and there's waivers. We'll start with trades. Trades can be made at any time until September 29th. That's the trade deadline. And Premier teams can trade with Challenger teams, and we saw that. We'll get to that in a minute. Then there's waivers. Happens 4 times a year. And that's when you can actually cut a player. So that's one of the worst things for a general manager to have to do, and pick up somebody who is not on a roster.
As a general manager yourself, can you take us behind the scenes of some of these decisions? I imagine it can't be easy.
No, and you are doing so much work behind the scenes that nobody ever sees. And you get so close to a deal with somebody, and then for whatever reason, sometimes it's you, sometimes it's them, you don't get it done. So there are so many conversations. The texts are flying everywhere, because what you need is a pulse of, is that team trying to do something? And we're going to talk about some teams that did a lot. So you have to be in the mix to understand if maybe I would like to be there or not, because you don't want to get surprised in my seat as, wait, he was available and I didn't know. I want to make sure I know everyone that was available and then react to that, not get surprised. So that is the key. You have to have that string of communication going throughout the league.
All right, well, I want to start by talking about a couple of notable trades. You have Vivian Glausman of the Bay Area Breakers for Elise Jones of the DC Pickleball team, and Pablo Tellez of the Texas Rangers for Martin Emrich of the Brooklyn Aces. These are trades from Premier to Challenger and vice versa.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, that is within the rules, which is like, wow. So what is the reaction to that? Well, Vivian Glausman is playing terrific. So she is a deserving Premier player. She is moving up, and they are loving every bit of that. And there were cash considerations actually going to the Challenger side of that. So that is wild, because you would think that to get a Premier player into Challenger, it would go the other way. That was not the case. That shows you how much Vivian is thought of. So then the other one, the lefty Pablo Tellez, he's fiery. He just played for a championship on the Carvana PPA Tour. So that's an interesting deal. Again, some of the times it's just team dynamics. Does this work together with us three and another player? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm not saying that's the case with Pablo, but that is not a Challenger player, Pablo Tellez.
So when you think about Elise Jones and Pablo Tellez moving down to the Challenger level, do you think they're going to be extra fired up to prove that they belong at the Premier level, or is there maybe a bit of a chip on their shoulder? What do you think the reaction is going to be?
You know, they're going to have to reconcile that, and that's hard, because you're basically being told you can't go do something that you think you are entitled to because of your play. So it's not even that. It's like, man, I'm there. I've done it. I've proven it. This past weekend, both Elise and Pablo at the Carvana PPA Tour had very good runs. So they're like, ta-da, everybody. And yet they know that they have to reconcile where they're at. So this is where will other GMs sort of keep an eye on this and try and jump in there? So they can look at it in two ways. They can either fold up and say, this stinks and I'm not going to play well and be a problem, or are they going to say, look at how good I actually am. You need to come get me, Premier GM. So we will see. And this tournament will be an interesting spot for those two.
All right, quick aside before we move on to waivers. Can you explain cash considerations to us like we're five?
I can, because I'm fired up that that's a term in pickleball, because as a big sports fan in general, Blair, you always see Major League Baseball transactions, NFL, other things traded for cash considerations. We've got cash considerations now, and in some cases they were six-figure cash considerations. So no joke out there, but I just love it. We're right. We just keep getting bigger and better every day.
So we talked about trades, we've talked about cash considerations. Now we're going to move on to waivers. 30,000-foot view, Dave. Go for it.
Yeah, so as I mentioned several times throughout the season, the teams can actually pick up players that are not on a roster, and that means they have to cut somebody as well. And it's done in the reverse order of the standings. So at the Premier level, Utah had the first opportunity. And what's interesting there is that Utah actually traded that for the cash considerations to the Texas Rangers, because the Texas Rangers wanted to make sure that they got their guy. Now, what they didn't expect is that there weren't any other moves at the Premier level on the waiver wire, so they could have stayed there and kept that cash in their pocket. Utah is pretty happy that they got that money.
Very interesting. And of course, you mentioned Quang Duong, who was a breakout star for the Texas Rangers. He was an alternate for the injured Christian Alshon. And we learned a whole lot about him. Not only is he a great pickleball player, but He's got signature sleeves. On the
Yes.
right side, it's in the camo family. That's his warrior sleeve. On the left side, he's got his colorful sleeve. He calls that his reset sleeve. So these have a psychological purpose. And Dave, I didn't think it was fair that only Quang Duong got to have psychological sleeves.
I love this. Where are we going?
I came bearing gifts today. I love a good prop. And you know what? When I saw this, Dave, I thought this has Dave Fleming written
Let's
all over
go.
it.
Yes.
There's your warrior sleeve,
Warrior.
Dave. And we've got some baby blue for you. Matches your shirt. We've got your
Yes.
reset sleeve.
Perfect.
Listen, I think you should wear these the rest of the day, wear these home. What do you think your family would say if you were to walk in the door with those sleeves on?
Well, they're used to antics with me, so I think they would go, here we go again, would be the answer. So, and Quang Duong rips the two in. I love the two-handed backhand, so this is going to fit perfectly. Now, the other interesting thing about all this stuff with Quang Duong is, as you mentioned, he jumped in for the injured Christian Alshon. And what usually happens in sports is it's the injured guy who gets replaced and is never heard from again. That's not what happened here. He jumped in and played with Pablo Tellez, and then it's Pablo that ends up getting traded. That's wild.
Yeah, that has to maybe sting a little bit more, I would think.
Yes, so it's a team that we're going to keep an eye on, but they made a big decision, and again, we're the only team on the Premier side to use anything on the waiver wire.
All right, fair enough. And listen, I brought my own. Just in
Yes.
case you were wondering, I didn't want to be left out in the cold, so wait till the outro. These are going on.
1,000% they are.
All right, now let's talk about the waivers at the challenger level. Lots of movement here.
There was, and what's interesting with just the way the year was sorting out with contracts for the players, a bunch of very talented players were working through contracts. Were they going to play MLP? Were they not? So they weren't even in the draft pool. We're talking about players like Megan Fudge and Susanna Barr and others. So when you see those names come back, teams that didn't do nearly as well as they would have liked said, hey, we want to try this out. So a lot of moves done, especially in that first round of the challenger level. Now the question is, again, the player might be better in your mind than the one you cut, but do they gel with the team? That is always what I want to see, and we will see it in Grand Rapids for the first time.
And there was a second round of challenger moves as well. A couple of Dallas guys getting picked up and some fireworks with DJ Young.
No doubt. So here's what's coming to you, Michigan. Brandon French running his mouth, Blair. That's what he does. He was on my Dallas team last year, and that is a big part of it. The energy, the mouth of his is going to get in the heads of some of the players on the other side, and they forget to play, and the next thing you know, in rally scoring, you lose. So very talented player, but the intangibles around the edges are what people love to see. So French gets picked up, DJ Young gets dropped, and then DJ Young gets picked up at the end of the waiver process in round 2. So he's very talented, has a little bit of an injury now. I think that is why he was dropped. And then Noe Cliff is the other Dallas guy that got picked up. And lots of players ask me, how do I make it onto a Major League Pickleball roster? Results. That's what it is. Noe Cliff has made a difference in some of the Carvana PPA Tour events. And when players see that, they're like, they want to get better partners, so he gets better partners, gets better results. It is literally a circle of one after the other, and you want to get into the cool kids clubs with partners, and Noe is there now.
Now it's time to look ahead to what we've got on deck. It is the Advil Targeted Relief Midseason Tournament in Grand Rapids, Michigan, July 10th through the 14th. Beer City, here we come. Cannot wait. And this is a format that we haven't seen in the first 2 events of the MLP season. You've got a bracket for the challenger teams, a bracket for the premier teams, double elimination with $200,000 total prize money on the line.
There is, and as we've talked about, each team is going to play 23 matches. That's their regular season, and we showed the standings earlier. You got to be in the top 6 to make it. This event does not affect those standings, Blair, so that's the one big difference, and it will resolve itself at the end of Sunday's play. So you have got to look at it a little differently. It more resembles 2023 MLP in that each of the events was its own thing and there was a winner crowned at the end. Double elimination, as you mentioned, but if you lose in the main draw, you cannot come back and win the whole thing, but you can grab bronze.
So which of the teams that we've talked about today do you think are really going to thrive in this tournament format?
The stars often rise when there's an opportunity to make an impact in a short period of time. So we'll see if that indeed happens here. But random players can just get hot for a weekend. So that's the difference. Marathon, not a sprint for the regular season, but the tournament's 4x100. Let's freaking go, Blair. So I think you're going to see a couple players play above their level, and that could be the difference here.
And we talked about your Carolina Pickleball Club. We talked about the Utah Black Diamonds, who need some wins, who need some confidence.
Yep.
Do you think they're going to thrive having that runway in DC playing together?
It's certainly going to help. And then, as I mentioned before, the fact that Coop Nation is going to be going bananas for Andrea in her backyard playing for Carolina. So certainly look for that. And then Utah will have a much healthier Jay DeVilliers. That will help as well.
And then we have the New Jersey Fives, who didn't play in DC, but they're the only team left undefeated at the Premier level. Do you think they're going to pick up where they left off?
Well, AL Dub just doesn't lose. So Annalie Waters.
That must be nice,
I
right?
mean, isn't
What's
it?
that like?
I mean, it's unreal when we put up 99% winning percentage. It's just preposterous. But she's really jumped into Major League Pickleball this year with a little bit of a different attitude. Playing, having fun, because the one thing she actually has never won is Major League Pickleball. So she would love to get that done here in Grand Rapids.
All right, moving on to the challenger storylines. As we've mentioned, so many moves. Do you see any of those paying off right away?
I mean, I think they will. I think you have some talented players. H. Johnson also jumping in there along with the ladies that we talked about. So I think one or two of those is going to be a difference. And then one of those may not be, too, because you're like, oh, we got rid of somebody. We got a player that's coming in that's motivated that we think is better, and then it just doesn't gel. So there will be at least one disaster in that list, I am certain.
Well, time will tell who the disaster is going to be, and time is also going to tell us which of these moves is going to pay off. And you have teams like the Bay Area Breakers that have literally been rebuilt from the ground up.
They have. Colin Schick, the doctor-to-be, has got to be wondering, there's no patients left in my waiting room. I'm the only guy here. 3 changes around them. That's crazy. They were doing well, too. So they're a very talented team. Can they gel quickly? We'll find out.
All right, we're going to take a look at the brackets, starting with the Premier level.
Now let's take a look at the Premier bracket, and you can see the top 4 seeds. They got a bye. The Shock is the 1 seed, and they will get the winner of the Squeeze and the Sliders. The 2 first-round matchups that I'm interested in are the DC Pickleball team, who just missed getting that bye, and the Utah Black Diamonds. Can the Utah Black Diamonds pull an upset? Can they get that first win of the year against a very good DC team? We shall see. The other one is the team that I am the general manager of, the Carolina Pickleball Club. We got Andrea Coop playing in her backyard. We got the Johns brothers. They're looking to rebound from DC against this new-look Texas Ranchers team that brought Kwong Duong in and took out Pablo Tejas. So those are the first-round matchups. Then into the byes, and then we'll play it out to a champion. Now, it is double elimination, so you see you can drop down below and keep playing ball, but you can only finish in third if you win all the way through. Once you lose, a championship is off the table. Now let's take a look at the challenger bracket, and there's just 2 byes because there's only 10 teams. So we have the 8-9 and the 7-10 early round matchup. So it's the Breakers and the Night Owls who are getting the bye. Same idea. If you lose in the main draw, you can only get a 3rd place finish if you run out the bottom. So will the Night Owls hold up that number 1 seed and win it? Will they be hooting and hollering, or will it be that new look Bay Area Breakers team that takes the title? Can't wait to find out.
Well, Dave, we've got our sleeves. We're ready to go.
Yes.
Where can people watch?
Well, we've got some great national coverage, Blair. We've got ESPN2. We've got Tennis Channel. Of course, it'll be on Major League Pickleball YouTube. And then Pickleball TV 24/7. Pickle, nothing better than that.
Well, that'll do it for another jam-packed edition of Inside Major League Pickleball. We wish you many warrior moments and many reset moments this week. But for Dave Fleming, I'm Blair Henley, and we'll see ya in Beer City.